Hey there, my name is Pravus, and welcome back to Settlement Survival, the colony builder that could be best described as the spiritual successor to Banished, the best survival colony builder of all time, at least in my opinion. We played this game on the channel before, a few months ago, back when it was first coming out, and you guys seemed to really enjoy it. I mean, like, really enjoy it. Like, oh my god, you guys ate that up. So, of course, we're jumping back into things today. Now, I could set up a brand new colony, right, and kind of start from scratch and see where things go from there. Or we could really mix things up and try out the story mode of Easter Island. Now, there actually used to be a couple other story modes that were grayed out here, something to be added in the future. In the new UI, you can't see those, so I really hope those weren't scratched. I would really like to see more story modes added at some point in the game. But anyway, story mode is very difficult. Contrasting to a generic, easy default settings with a difficulty score of 285, we're looking at 2,140. It says it's only a hard difficulty, but really it's kind of extreme. It just ramps up in a slightly different way. Let's go ahead and turn on the special structures. What are some of the challenges of this map? Well, first off, there's an actual objective. It is to build these Easter Island statues. If we can build all of them, we win. That is it. However, getting to that point is going to be difficult because these statues will take a lot of time, resources, and labor to build. And in the meantime, we're stuck on a tiny little island with limited resources, and trees grow very, very slowly. We do start with a partially built colony, so we're not starting with only like 10 people. We're going to have more like 300, which is going to be pretty nice, but they all are going to have needs. We have to ramp up our economy extra fast. Not to mention, we are not going to have any immigration, and trade is going to be few and far between, and natural disasters will, at some point, start to sweep over the island and try to wipe me off the face of the map. So it's going to be very, very difficult, and I'm going into this semi-blind. I know some of the mechanics of this map from some test games. I know roughly what we need to do, but getting there, like an exact strategy, I don't know. So I'm going to fly by with the seat of my pants. That's usually when I come up with my best content, right? I mean, that's what you guys all want to see. You don't want to see me know what I do. I mean, you want to watch me struggle and suffer because you're all sadistic like that. So that's what we're going to do in this series. Here's the current situation. The Islanders have already built their home. They are preparing to build the stone sculptures. However, their health is in potential risk for the shortage of herbs, and their food and water can only last around 2 years. Help them finish the sculpture. Okay. So these are the sculptures, right? These are the big rocks that you see over here. And the first thing I'm going to do is pause this. I do not want our builders wasting any time building this until we are good and ready. There are, I think, a total of 7 of these stone sculptures that need to get built. And you can see they take about 5,000 building time, or labor, or whatever this unit is, in order to build one up. But once it is built, then the next thing you'll have to do is gather up 999 timber and 999 rope in order to move the statue. And then it's going to magically teleport all the way over here. And then once it arrives in this area, right, we'll have to then, once again, spend a load of labor getting it set up. So every statue has 3 steps to it. Now, that doesn't sound too bad, right? As long as you get your food and your health and stuff figured out, then all you have to do is just keep getting lots of timber, get a lot of rope, and boom, 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 you win. However, after every single statue, the game difficulty is going to ramp up a little bit. At some point, massive tornadoes and sandstorms are going to try to kill my entire population. So don't get complacent. You've only got a few years to really get your economy more or less situated. Then you need to start knocking these out and watching for the difficulty to ramp up. You might be doing really great for about half the scenario, and then everything falls apart very, very quickly. It's gonna be pretty darn tough, but all right. Now, a couple other challenges to note. Technology has been limited in this scenario. Some things are missing. For example, whatever was over here in this livability column, that is all gone. Trade has been nerfed because there are no land trade routes, right? Some of the construction techs are gone. Plantations are going to be gone, etc. So we're going to have to be very careful about our technology because certain things aren't going to exist, including, for example, a church. Church is very important to increase the happiness of your citizens, but that doesn't exist on Easter Island. So we're going to be watching our health and our happiness very carefully because both of these are going to plummet, and it's going to be very difficult to keep on top of this. In fact, I would go so far as to say that health needs to be the top priority when you first start this scenario. Otherwise, your fertility rate is going to drop as the stress goes up, and all of a sudden you find that you don't have enough replacement population and nothing happens until you slowly whittle to death. Right? So the first thing I'm going to do with my technology is I'm going to go to agriculture. We're going to research apiary. We're going to research the nursery, and then we're going to get herb knowledge. Why do we need herb knowledge? Because this is the only way that I can get the herb seeds. This is a seed we don't have right now, so we can't plant our own herbs at the nursery. And if we don't have herbs, we get sick and die, and our population is going to start to plummet. So this allows me to find the seed simply while gathering up plants. Now, that could be done at the Gatherer's Hut. We actually have several of these already set up over here. So I think five Gatherer's Hut already set up. They could find it on their own, or we could go ahead and start doing some gather plants like this, and maybe we uncover the seed a little early. I don't know. Let's go ahead and also gather up some of the local rocks. I wouldn't mind chopping down at least a handful of trees, especially in the areas where I already know that I'm going to be building stuff, so we'll go ahead and clear a lot of that out. Now, we do have a lot of tents. Unfortunately, tents aren't great for a population because they do not reduce stress like a house would. I'd love to replace these at some point, but that's going to be very expensive, and I don't exactly have a lot of wood to spare because I'll remind you, these wood is going to grow very, very slowly on this particular map. I am setting up some dirt roads because we are lacking those right now, and I'd like to increase movement speed. Anything that improves my logistics is going to be very, very helpful to me, especially in the early game. And dirt roads are free, so we might as well boost everyone's movement speed by 25%. There are some special things in this game, some special blueprints that are unique for this map. We have special statues, not these statues, but different little Easter Island tiki head kind of statues over here. You can place these suckers down, and what it does is reduce your stress. It's a stacking stress reduction as long as you have one of each of these. So when our stress starts getting out of control, we're going to be placing these down for absolute sure. There's also a shelter which has to be built into the mountain face. This is the only way to protect your citizens if a sandstorm or a tornado comes through that would otherwise kill dozens or hundreds of people. We will need to place one of those down at some point, but at least not for a little bit. What are some other top priorities? Well, we need to keep an eye on things like health, so let's go to, not houses, I have to remind myself where everything is. Services, clinics, right. We need to place down some clinics. This allows us to start curing some of the sick people in our city. So we'll go ahead and place one of these down to ideally capture as many of these tents in a radius as possible. We're probably going to end up needing 2 of these clinics. So one down over here and then maybe one up over here, for example, would probably be fine. So we'll go ahead and do something like that. We do need to get a town hall early on. A town hall would allow us to get some administrators, which are going to be helpful for getting, what are they called? Yeah, well, administrators. They're actually for, like, special governor types. That's basically what I'm trying to say. A special type of governor who can give us some nice little perks that are going to make it a lot easier for us to manage things. So we want to get one of those down, absolutely. I will at some point need to research the police station. This is going to be one of the few ways to try and take care of criminals and keep happiness high, since we're not going to have access to the church at any point in the game. And then I want to change up some farms a little bit. So right now we're making plenty of pumpkins. We're also growing flax, but flax isn't going to do me a whole lot of good at this stage of the game, because what am I going to do with flax? I don't have any of the processing buildings. So instead, we're going to make some extra agave so I can make some alcohol at our distilleries, and then everything else is going to be set to some form of food, especially faster growing food like the pumpkins, just so I can keep this all running for a little bit. And then now over here we have our builders. Let's go ahead and add on some additional workers like this. Get this all up over here so we have extra people working. I still have 44 laborers running around. That's fine. Let's go ahead and increase speed and let these guys do some jobs. Now, there are plenty of priorities that are all conflicting. Lots of things that I need to do, but obviously I have a limited amount of time to do all of them. So, for example, I would love to build more schools, right? At some point, we already are at full on our schools, which is getting me a little bit of tech points. Extra schools would certainly be nice. I'd love to research some research institutes as well, because that obviously makes it a lot easier for me to get more research points, and the faster I get tech points, the more we can do things. I just discovered some crop seeds. Lo and behold, there's the herbs. Perfect. Now, I can't do anything with it right now, but if you don't get herbs early on, then you might as well restart, because you really need those herbs. Getting the seeds means that I feel like I can now continue to move forward, and maybe, just maybe, we'll end up being okay. We do have some hunters' huts over here. They can possibly capture like some alpacas, some bison, or some turkeys. Those are the only 3 animal types that are on this map. The placement of these hunters' huts is actually pretty, kind of meh. It'd be better to place them out over here, but I'm not sure I want to go ahead and demolish these yet. Not for a moment, at least. Not for a little bit longer. What are some other things I need to do? We need to get Sand mining. Sand mining is going to let us get sand, and also clay. Clay is necessary for building a lot of things, including those nurseries I was talking about. So we'll need to get this fairly early on. We also need to get the refined fuel so that we will be able to get some additional fuel for people's houses. Quarries and mining will be important at some point. We have enough resources on the ground to start that we're okay, but eventually we'll need these, and the maximum upgrades will eventually lead to basically unlimited resources, so we know we're going to need that. The sawmill is also very important for us. It is better at making domestic fuel than the chopping house, and we can get planks. Planks I'm going to need before we finish our first statue, but I digress. We'll come back to some of that. Reeds are important, right? We're going to need to be able to get reeds so that I can then also knit that stuff into rope, as we already were seeing. You're going to need that in order to get your statues moved around. I need some logistics tech, including delivery. We do start with a market, I believe. There it is. Marketplaces would be great for delivering resources to people if we can get that delivery tech up and running, but we have to wait on that for a little bit. Now, one thing you may have noticed, we did not have tech to get any more distilleries, right? And for some reason, that's not actually on here in any of these buildings. I don't know which building it normally would be under, what tab I mean, but we can't build more distilleries, or at least you think that, right? The game seems like it's saying, no, these are the only distilleries you get for the entire game. But there's a bit of an oversight by the devs. There's a little hotkey you can use. It's called left shift and click, and if you click on a building, it automatically will copy that building to get placed somewhere else. You can do that with distilleries. So even though I'll never have the technology for this, and I can't actually find it in any of my build tabs, I could just shift left click and place down more distilleries this way. So you're not actually limited on this. You might think you are, but you're not. Don't worry about it too much. Everything is going to be just fine. Let's see, we have another tech point. What do I want to get first? Let's see, the police station I already talked about. Soap and bathhouses will be very important at some point. Could go for that research institute kind of early. I could also go for school expansion, which increases the science output by 100%. So we'll get 40 science points out of a single school, whereas a research institute can only get me 30 until we get paper. So technically speaking, expanding the school will get me more research right now than getting a research institute, which is why I'm going to grab this, because the faster I can get technology, just generally speaking, the better. So let's take a look at that school. 20 students. It still says we're outputting only 20 science. That should not be correct. It might be the base value and it's technically doubling it and it's a hidden number. I know that it gets you 40, so we are getting tech a lot faster all of a sudden. In fact, we should be going twice as fast as we were before. Now, I would like to be getting some proper housing and such. Housing would be great, but first, let's go to this town hall and look for administrators. We have a couple of options to start with. Trading proficiency is irrelevant because we're not going to be doing a lot of trading because we don't have a land connection. So instead, I'm going to go for Anne. This is going to reduce all construction material consumption by 10%. That's pretty awesome because what it means is I can actually now cancel things like this clinic, right? And then we can go back to city services and place this down again in the exact same spot, but now it costs less resources. Technically speaking, while we have this person working for us, we should be planning out as much of the city as we can, all right? Because this is the best time to get a nice little discount on all of these costs. So for example, I might want to place down another little school right over here. It's a little bit cheaper. I could afford some of that. We'll need some iron stuff too, but that's okay. No problem at all. Let's see. What else do we need to be doing? Well, let's see. We already got this. You know, another tech I would love to get early on if we can. Probably can't right away, but that's farming efficiency. Boost up the speed of sowing and harvesting by 100% is so good for getting these people to sow all the crops really fast. I would love to do that. Right now we have a lot of farmers all doing their thing. Technically speaking, whenever you are in the winter months, up until like February, you can turn off the farms and just let people go back into the laborer pool. I could have done that. I probably should have done that. I did not do that, but it's okay. It's gonna be a-okay. Let's see. I need to place down a couple of nurseries. So we can do a couple like this, so I could be able to place down some herbs. And I'm placing them in the fertile soil because I believe this means that these guys are going to... We'll go ahead and... we can go ahead and place it for now. These guys should have extra growth speed on a very critical resource, namely those herbs. I know that I'm going to be needing a lot of that. Apiary is going to hold off on that for a moment. Let's see. We're about to get another tech point. I think the next thing I'm going to go for is probably the sawmill. That should allow us to go ahead and start working on the better form of domestic fuel. Now, I could go for a water mill, and that would be very efficient. However, these shores have some weird little curves to them that makes placing stuff a little bit difficult, and we already have 2 chop houses over here. So what I could do is just do an upgrade which for some reason it's not letting me select. Why is that the case? I don't know. Maybe it's because we don't have enough iron. That could very well be the case. I don't know. Either way, we do want to upgrade that. If it's not going to let me and I'm wrong on that point, no problem. We'll just go ahead and place down a water sawmill somewhere else. We definitely are going to need to get things like clay and stuff pretty soon. So the sooner I can get that, probably the better. I do need people to go get that iron, though, for, like, real. We are going to have serious problems if I do not have enough stone and enough iron to kind of keep things going. So there's a lot more iron up that direction. That's fine. Let's go ahead and gather all that stone. Any additional trees I can knock down? Yeah, we can knock down a whole bunch over here because we're going to be using this as much as we can. Now, as far as where I'm going to be building out most of my houses and infrastructure over time, I want to start moving over to the east as much as possible because eventually when we need to start building things over here, having people living close to this area is going to reduce the travel time by a lot, which is obviously going to be very, very good for me. So we know we need to do that. Absolutely. There's a lot that we need to do in this particular series. And again, I'm kind of going this just kind of on the seat of my pants. I sort of have an idea what I need to do, but I'm not absolutely positive. I'm just taking my best stab at it, all right? Best I can hope for is just raw competence. Let's go for some stone placement of these statues. I'm not actually building these right now. I just want to place them now because this technically saves me 100 wood by virtue of simply placing it while we still have this administrator. So I'm going to go ahead and plan these out. And even if she does retire, in which we can't reappoint her, no problem. The cost still remains down. We can actually get some more administrators right now. For example, minimum health or construction proficiency. Construction proficiency would be pretty nice. Let's choose later for a second. So construction proficiency goes down here. We get a star of experience. This extra proficiency level would boost my construction speed and my building durability by a little bit, which is nice. However, we could also go for minimum health. Now, if I've ever gotten to a point where I would be going below 20, I'm kind of already in trouble. So I'm going to go for this proficiency guy and hope that that is the right choice. Geraldine, activate a random technology. Okay, here's something I did some reading on, and I'm going to go ahead and say that this is a little bit cheesy, but it needs to happen. You've got to save your game before you pick her because she could technically give you a technology that you can't research and you can't ever build. That would suck. It's kind of a bug in this scenario. So let me save real quick. Okay, now we're going to pick her, and we get the Research Institute for free. Okay, I mean, you know, as far as techs go, that's not a bad one to get early on for free. I already kind of wanted to have some of these, so I'm fine with that. Let's go ahead and place, let's see, how about one over here? No, we can't. Right, there we go. One over there, and then one over here. Right, and we'll pause these for the time being because they're not the absolute top priority, but having a couple extra people making some extra tech points is not a bad idea. I definitely need these clinics to be a higher priority than they have been, though, so could you please go and do all of that? Thank you very much. These guys are taking a very long time to do anything, despite the fact that we have so many free laborers right now. It's actually a little disheartening, I'm not going to lie. But oh well, we'll find a way to make it work. Let's see, I do want to get some roads down over this direction. Need to get some up over here. There we go, so we can keep everyone moving. How are these foresters' huts and stuff? We generally want to stay out of this, make sure our gatherers' huts are as effective as possible. So if you're going to chop down trees, try not to do it in these areas, all right? Leave that alone as much as you can. Our foresters' huts, you know, you would think don't get you anything, but they do technically plant trees. The scenario kind of makes it seem like you don't get any tree growth. You do get some. It's just a little on the slow side. All right, so what did I say I need to get next? I've already forgotten. I do need to get sand mining, that is for sure, so let's go ahead and pick that up. And then in resources, we're going to place down some sand pits. Now, again, there's kind of only a handful of places we can put this, so I guess I'll go ahead and place one there, and let's say one here as well. Okay, so we do need to get these up. We'll have some people getting clay at the beginning of the game. Once these pumpkins are all grown, by the way, we can go ahead and turn off the fields, because, like, again, once you've harvested, you only get one harvest, like, per year, so the pumpkins will grow extra fast, they'll all get harvested, and then we can just get rid of it. Doesn't matter all that much. Some people are starving, apparently. I don't really see how that's possible since we have plenty of food and stuff, but oh well. City stress is going up because happiness sucks and health sucks. Yep, well, that's why we are trying to get things like a clinic, so I can solve some of these problems. Housing is also an issue, I know that, so we'll go ahead and start placing some of these down. Let's see, I'll do something like this, and then we'll just start putting together a small neighborhood within range of the clinic and within range of where I expect we're going to be placing our police station at some point. So we'll go ahead and start building some of those. Not a huge deal that people are homeless to a degree. I mean, yeah, stress goes up from that, but for a little bit at least, it's not so bad. I will point out our fertility has dropped by half already, which is pretty darn terrible. But at least we're trying to get these extra schools up and running. So with 2 schools, we have 38 children that are in school. That's getting me a pretty good amount of technology at the moment. Can we get more builders? Because so far, you guys are really slow, and I'm not okay with how slow you've been. So let's go ahead and increase the number of workers on all of these up to the maximum of 6. So we have 24 builders who are dedicated at the moment. 35 free laborers still, which is great. The nursery is still not important. We're working on this right now, so very soon we're going to have the sand pit up and running. Sand pit over here done soon as well. How are we doing on other resources? We're pretty low on herbs, but that's okay. We'll start growing some of our own in a little bit. For now, we can simply go and gather some plants. Anything that's not already in range of a gatherer's hut is fine. This gets me food and as some additional herbs. Let's start producing clay over here. We know we're going to need that for things like our nurseries. Another tech point is available. Let me just think through this real quick. We don't need to worry about that. We're okay on this. Reeds will be important, but not this second. Knitting, not important until we get that. I'm gonna get the delivery tech so we can automatically deliver food and water and fuel to nearby citizens. What this means is that the people working in these marketplaces, and we should actually definitely increase the number of people working here, are going to be delivering these goods to everyone within range so that these people can stay at their jobs and do things a little bit faster. That's going to be great. Same thing is true with stuff like a research institute. You know, as long as people don't have to travel very far to get their own goods, they can go back to work a little bit faster, and we like that. All right, so the clay is going to be up and running. I do want to get these research institutes up next. We can go ahead and turn these on now. They were paused, but that's okay. How are we doing on things like iron ore? Fine. Fuel, looking okay. Stone, wood, mostly okay. So that's all right. Let's go under city services. No, not services. Storage, marketplace. I could place down another marketplace, and I don't think that's a bad plan. Yeah, let's go ahead and place down another marketplace that's within range of all these remaining tents, and we'll continue building out more housing in this general direction, all within range at some point as well. So this should be fine. We'll go ahead and do that. And then next to it, I honestly wouldn't mind getting some additional water. Gotta remember where everything is, though. It's been a little while since I did this. Big wells, there we go. We can place down, like, let's say 2 of these right next door so that people are able to quickly gather up water, and then the marketplace is going to deliver a lot of that a little bit later. All right, so we'll get this all going. For stress is still pretty bad. Happiness is pretty terrible. We really need to get those police stations up and running probably next. Otherwise, people are going to have an issue. Remember, our food is only going to last us for about 1 or 2 years, so we've got to be very careful about this. Now, we don't have 350 population, so I can't get another one of these administrators, but that's okay. Let's get some roads set up along this path over here. There we go. Not the most space-efficient thing here in the world, but it'll be okay. Still have at least a couple of homeless people. You know, I mean, I could fix that. It's not a huge priority, but we could do that. Let's go ahead and place down a couple more. Never mind. It has to be built within a marketplace range. I didn't realize it had to be. Oh, that's interesting. All right, cool. Police station, place, boom. All right, so under services, let's go ahead and place some of these as well. And just like with the clinic, we want to place it in range of as many of these tents as possible. So something like this should be perfect, and it's going to capture just about everybody. We're not making enough booze. Let's go ahead and boost that up. I want to make sure that we basically never stop producing things like tools and clothes. Now, I don't think we have any more alpaca wool. Is there anything else we can make this out of that we have? I don't think so. We're going to start running out of clothes at some point, so I can turn that off for the moment. You have a little bit of alpaca wool as well, but then after you're done, yeah, that's kind of it. There's not going to be anything else. So that's going to be a concern for us. We're going to need that flax at some point and start converting it into linen. In order to, why do I have to select the water product here? I don't know. We're going to have to get linen in order to start making more clothes. Now, these fields, no one's going to be planting anything here. It is the end of summer, so we can go ahead and turn all these off. There is a hotkey for this, and I really ought to remember what it is. I will look that up later. But for now, at least, we got a pretty huge harvest of food, and now I have a bunch of extra laborers that we can work with. So we're building out these research institutes. That's going to be great for a bit of extra tech. Police station needs to be a top priority. Let's go ahead and make those higher priorities here. How are we doing as far as clay production? We're making a bit. Not a massive amount. We've got enough that we should be able to finish out some of these nurseries and stuff at some point. There is one more of these fertile field areas right over here. Could place down some farms over here, but unfortunately it's like into the side of a mountain, so our space options are a little limited there. A little bit more than I would have liked. Anyway, so there's the first research institute that is now done, so that's going to get me an extra 30 science coming in, so we should be making a pretty good amount. So tech is going to continue going up at a fast rate. I'm really depending on tech to keep things going. My storage yards are already filling up, which is unfortunate, but we'll live with that. I do need to get some additional workers over here in the marketplace, and then yeah, let's just go ahead and build out a couple more houses. And we're going to finish out this whole housing crisis thing. This should take care of the last of them. Stress is still looking pretty bad. So let's go to this first statue, and we'll go ahead and turn this thing on as well, so that some stone and timber can be sent off in that direction. Need to gather up some more stone. We don't have an absolute ton in the bank anymore. This is where things like the quarry is going to be important. I mean, there's just so much we need to do in this scenario at the beginning. So many competing priorities, and I'm still not touching the dang statue. I don't think you need to touch the statue for at least a bit. At least that's my opinion on it. I really don't think you need to. So that's what we're doing here. Now, what can we do as far as, like, make happiness go up? Nothing at the moment. I mean, we should have enough alcohol to go around to try and take care of some people, but it's not enough. Weirdly enough, I'm actually on top of health better than usual. In my test games, it's always been the opposite. Health has gone down and happiness has hung around for a little bit. But in this case, it appears that is not going to be the case. All right. Hey, did we ever figure out why we can't upgrade this? Now we can. Let's go ahead and upgrade the chopping houses so we can have more efficient fuel production. Now we have police stations in range of all these tents, and this means that happiness should go up by an additional 20% for everyone. So that's a thing now. Let's see. Anything else? It doesn't really give you all of the reasons they're sad. They just kind of are. Can we see anything here? No, we just see this. So a lot of people aren't drinking enough. There should be plenty of water and stuff to go around. I really don't see the problem. And yet somehow people are just sort of finding problems. They're just a bunch of complainers, all right? They tried to take on too much. They wanted to build these big statues. They had lofty ambitions. Put these foolish ambitions to rest, ladies and gentlemen. Put them to rest. We're not worrying about that right now. So this statue is going to get built up in a little bit. We should be done as far as our fields over here for our oats, so we'll go ahead and turn this off. I think we're kind of done with agave as well, and it looks like we're also done with the beans, pea seeds, whatever they are. So agave, yeah, we can go ahead and turn all of this off for the moment. And that's going to be, again, a lot more workers that we can mess around with here. Okay, I think this may be a good place for us to end this video. Again, lots and lots to do. I'm going to be I might actually lose. There's a very strong possibility I will literally lose this particular attempt, but we'll keep going for it. I actually think that maybe we need to turn back on the statue. I think if you don't build the statues fast enough, happiness goes down. Might be wrong on that. But anyway, if I lose, it's fine. We'll learn some lessons, and we'll start up from our latest checkpoint. I will also, in the meantime, be doing lots of research in between videos, trying to find out other strategies. I'll be looking for ideas on what I could do better, but I think this is a reasonable start. We've taken care of housing. We should be looking okay on food and water for a while. We've got the herb seeds. We're about to finish up a couple of nurseries to start growing our own. Our technology is going at a reasonable rate. Now we just need to start getting some reeds and start making rope, and technically, we could start working on these statues. So thank you very much for watching. I hope you guys are looking forward to this challenge run. If you are, then I would ask you hit that like button, leave a comment, subscribe, hit the notify bell, and I will see you guys next time.